Before we start the video, I had permission from Control City Freak himself to do this video. I will be sharing my opinions and experiences. I will also be showing some signs he might have missed. Now onto the video.
Hello everyone, TheDerpHog here, and today I'm going to be reacting to a couple of Control City Freaks videos. Specifically the North Carolina 87 video, the last few minutes of it, the section in Raleigh, and the Interstate 95 northbound southern North Carolina Virginia sections, and the little bit first of the Interstate 95 DC to New York City corridor. Specifically the Virginia section, because the reason I'm doing this is because I'm going to share my thoughts and opinions and my experiences along that corridor, and plus I live in Raleigh and I want to show him that there are good things along interstates here in North Carolina in the Raleigh area specifically. So without further ado, let's get started. So like I said earlier, we're going to be taking a look at Interstate 87 in North Carolina first. So I have here, or what I've started on, is a map of Interstate 87. Currently the route in red is the current route, and it's only 14 miles long, and it's mostly east to west. The blue section is the part that's going to be extended up and north into Norfolk, Virginia, and pink section I'm going to be talking about in a few minutes. So I do agree. So in the video, who's explaining how Interstate 87, or the number 87, is a bad number because the route right now currently is going east to west, and that there is a whole bunch of numbers that fit within the east to west route, grid, 48, 52, 54, 46, 60, all those numbers, and that it was a bad decision to choose 87. So I do agree with that. If they don't extend the route south along this purple corridor here, they should choose another number. But if they do extend the route along this purple corridor, and it's a theoretical, it's probably not going to happen, you can keep the 87 number, because now it's going to be going a southeastern direction, starting somewhere in southeastern North Carolina, going north along US 501, and then meeting up with US 1 and somewhere in Southern Pines, then going through Sanford, then going through southern Lake County, up until you hit Interstate 40, and then going along 40 for 8 miles, and then up to its current route right now. It's going to be starting, if that route is ever built, it's going to be serving people along Southern Pines, Sanford, Apex, Holly Springs, Fuquay, any of those towns that people live in that have to travel anywhere from 15-20 minutes to an hour to reach a mainline interstate. There'd be one at their feet. They can literally hop on 87 and boom, it's a interstate that's quickly accessible. Plus it's going to make Interstate 87 from 170 mile interstate to a 270 mile interstate, because you're adding an extra 100 miles to help make that area grow. So let's go on to the video.
87, we meet South 87 East 442 I-40 Durham Benson and West 440 Wake Forest. Notice there is no sign for Raleigh here. Why don't they tell us which way Raleigh will be? Or if it's both ways, tell us that. I can't believe I'm praising Pennsylvania here.
So there's a couple things wrong with this sign here that he doesn't mention. First of all, that 87 South 440 East to Interstate 40, it's signed for Durham and Benson. Benson should not be a control city. And the exit for 440 West to US 1, it has Wake Forest instead of it has Wake Forest for some random reason. When you already met Wake Forest here at the 540 exit, so why put it again? Plus, Wake Forest is a couple miles northwest of Raleigh, so the 540 exit would have been a lot better for Wake Forest than this exit. So I fixed the exit from the Durham Benson to Durham and Wilmington, the correct control cities for Raleigh, and then I changed. I omitted US 1 for just 440 West, and I changed it to a suburbs in Raleigh that 440 actually does go through, which is a suburb called North Hills. So I fixed that exit because Wake Forest doesn't make sense for 440 West.
Here, but Pennsylvania, at least when we were meeting Scranton, told us which exits were going to be for Scranton when we were looking at I-84. Why would they not tell us which way to get to Raleigh?
So North Carolina does tell you how to get to, or which exits to take for like a town, for the town of Cary, and not for some random reason not Raleigh. But at least North Carolina tells you how to get to a certain town. And it's along Interstate 40 because Interstate 40 is going to be briefly passing through the town of Cary. So these would be the exits for if you wanted to go to Cary, if you're going on westbound 40, and then going eastbound it would just be reversed. So exit 287 would be first, then 290, then 291. So North Carolina does tell you that you can take these exits to get to Cary. And then if you're going eastbound on 40, it tells you that Raleigh is the next 9 interchanges right after this, after the Harrison Avenue exit, where this picture is taken from. So North Carolina does tell you that ways to get to a certain town. It's just it isn't Raleigh for some random reason. Also, so for the reason why it says 40 East on this laundry list of exits, it's because Interstate 40 East is the one that's exiting onto Interstate 40 East. You're going to be merging into Interstate 40 West, so there would be no reason why you would put just Interstate 40. Also, Rock Quarry Road and Hammond Road are Interstate 40 exits, so that's why it has 40 East, because that's the next exit that's going to be coming up in like a quarter of a mile. So it's not just 40.
Not just 40 East Ben realized that first sign where I was all these years in the I-40 going westbound. No I-87.
There is an I-87 end sign. It's right here. It's literally right after the Interstate 40 East exit. He didn't show it. So with that, we're going to be moving on to the way it should be. So for him, it's Rocky Mountain, Norfolk, and south for Raleigh. So mine is, so like I said earlier, as I talked about earlier, I talked about if 87 is extended south to meet Interstate 74 somewhere in southeastern North Carolina, northbound would be Raleigh, then Rocky Mount, then Norfolk, like how he does in the video for Rocky Mount, Norfolk. And then the southbound would just be for Raleigh and Charlotte. The reason I said Charlotte is because I'm guessing most people would be angling to go towards Charlotte instead of Wilmington. And if you wanted to go to Wilmington, you would just taken the 40 East exit off of 440 instead of going west on 80, it's more west on 87 and south along the US 1 corridor, down all the way down to the US 74 and then back west or east to Wilmington. So that's why I chose Charlotte instead of Wilmington and Charlotte. And basically mine's the same way, and if the rest of the route is built, I just did whatever he did in the video. Instead, I changed the number to one of the ones that should be used instead of 87. So with that out of the way, on to the next video. So now we're on Interstate 95, and we're going to be starting from the 74's junction. First of all, I do agree that Interstate 74 should not exist in North Carolina. That should be just kept in the Midwest, while Interstate 74 here can be renumbered to either like 3-digit interstates or another entirely new 2-digit interstate, like 36 or something. So I do agree with that. So now let's watch the video.
74's our sign for Laurinburg and Rockingham, North 95 for Lumberton and Fayetteville. For Lumberton still, there's like one exit in Lumberton, and Lumberton's basically signed for this.
That's not true. Number 10 is signed for exit 13, 17, 19, 20, and 22.
Interchange. I mean, come on. Just sign Fayetteville. Here's our Lumberton exit, and we get 95 North Fayetteville from that point. Fayetteville on the bottom line at 26 miles away, so it is coming soon. Here's the main exit for Fayetteville, and again, we only have a sign to the side of the road and not an overhead, so that seems a little weird. We have another city listed on there. I guess 95 does kind of bypass Fayetteville, and a 2-lane freeway, which is kind of surprising for North Carolina. Here we're meeting 295 for Newton Grove and Fort Bragg. It's the Fort Bragg Road, and again, we get this no overhead sign for an interstate. So yeah, don't like that at all. And North Carolina almost seems to be getting worse with that. It seems like when you look at Street View, sometimes it used to be there, and then when they do new construction, it goes away. Thank you so much. I've heard good things about Dunn, although that sign there used to be a Wendy's, and you have to go back to 2013 to see that it's a Wendy's. So that Wendy's has been done for quite a while. All right, and we are meeting I-40, and I-40 is signed for Raleigh and Wilmington, as well it should be. 95 North for Rocky Mount, which, I don't know. I mean, it should be signed for Raleigh up until here, maybe Rocky Mount, but probably just Richmond would be better. And we do get Richmond on the bottom line on the next sign, so that's interesting. Random
This sign. I'm guessing that interchange is somewhere after exit 107, but we do have a pull-through sign before you even get to 587 or 87 in Wilson and Rocky Mount. This is like literally like 30 miles south of Rocky Mount, and it's 95 North for Richmond.
Changes, we are getting Wilson, and now we meet 795, which of course does not have an overhead sign, and this is where I believe 587 also exists with 795, but we have no ever for whatever reason. And at this point we're still getting North 95 Rocky Mount, so no big surprise. Here in Rocky Mount, this is the biggest exit in Rocky Mount, and we just get US 64 Rocky Mount, Nashville. I mean, why not an overhead if it's such an important city? They have to sign it from so far away from so many places. In Rocky Mount, we are getting 95 North Richmond, so that's good to see. And this is perfectly sensible. Roanoke Rapids is our secondary, Richmond as our primary. I had a request from TheDerpHog, who wanted to see some billboards on the way to Roanoke Rapids. I couldn't find any other than, just chain restaurant places or whatever. This is the only one I could find that seemed touristy at all. Hey, welcome to Virginia.
So I've been at that rest stop in Virginia. I got a state map from there. So that's pretty cool.
And in Virginia, 95 is signed.
So I'm guessing by the looks of it, this exit is exit 4 in Virginia, because I've actually been off this exit. There was an IHOP off that exit, and I stopped there for lunch one time.
Signed for Emporia, so I can't say that I agree with that at all at random interchanges, although I guess this Emporia is somewhat of a major place in southern Virginia. And now Emporia 6 miles away, Petersburg 48. No Richmond. Come on, put Richmond on there. We're meeting US 58, Norfolk, and then we're getting West 58, South Hill. That all makes sense. We don't get a 95 pull through, but if we look up at US 58, we can see we're on 95 North, 5 North Richmond. And now we get Petersburg and Richmond on the sign, so that's cool to see. That works. Petersburg, fine secondary. The request from TheDerpHog, we have the Davis Travel Plaza over to the left there, here at exit 33.
So if you ever stopped here at the Davis Travel Center, it's a very good place. It's like rated like 4.5 stars because of how clean and how cool it is. And if you ever go inside, there's like an entire panorama of the interstate. Well, I can't show part of it because this is a picture from someone else. I don't have any pictures myself, but this is like a picture off of Google Maps.
State Highway 602, and we are meeting 295.
Before you meet the Interstate 295, there's a couple of signs that tell you that you should take 295 to get to points points north of like Richmond and stuff. This one here tells you that if you take 295 bypasses the capital of Petersburg, I don't know why they have Petersburg in a star. It should have just been like that star should be like Richmond or something, and like Petersburg like somewhere like down here, but it tells you that it bypasses Petersburg with a star. And then the next one is like literally a couple miles before exit 45, and it's like doing like one of those like minute like travel distance times like in Ohio off of Interstate 70. That if you want to get to points north of Richmond, like DC or New York City or stuff like that, it's like 5 minutes faster to take 295 instead of going on 95. But for the point of this video, we're going to be staying on Interstate 95.
The Richmond Beltway, or the Richmond Bypass, and it is signed north for Washington, which does make sense, and 95 signed for Petersburg and Richmond. We meet
to 288. So, Virginia Highway 288 is sort of like the western bypass of Richmond. 295 is the eastern bypass, while 288 is the western bypass. I think it is built up to interstate standards, so I think it should be converted into an interstate and have Richmond have two interstate bypasses.
Yeah, and 280 name there. That are going right through downtown Richmond. And it looks pretty cool seeing these buildings and stuff kind of almost right on top of the freeway. Nice scene, although probably not so great for Richmond. I don't know. You went this way. There's another request from the TheDerpHog. Exit 4, Highway 1, North Fredericksburg.
That's my exit. That's the exit I would take to get home from visiting family. Is exit 126 for US 1. I'd take US 1 to Virginia Highway 208, which takes you back southwest to Spotsylvania Courthouse, where I lived for a couple of years. And what was in Spotsylvania was a very good place called the Snack Shack. Sadly, it's shut down though, so you can't visit it anymore. Fredericksburg. This exit actually takes you to the Spotsylvania Town Center Mall. Living in Fredericksburg for a couple of years, I know all too well about this exit. It has the Spotsylvania Mall that you literally are driving right next to if you're going southbound on Interstate 95, which within the mall lot you have some shops outside, and then you have the mall itself, and then right behind the mall you have a movie theater / bowling alley. Now, I went to see a movie once in the movie theater, but I've never been to the bowling alley part, so I have no experience with that. And then right directly across the street from the mall, you have the Central Park Plaza, which you can see the sign all the way in the distance from here. And within that shopping plaza, you have a whole bunch of stores like Lowe's, Best Buy, Funland, Chick-fil-A, Olive Garden, another movie theater, Crumble Cookies, if you like crumble cookies, a Walmart. There's also a Target somewhere in here, a Lazy Boy, here's Target, a Barnes & Noble, a couple of furniture stores, and more restaurants. Like, you have a whole bunch of stuff here that you can shop around and drive and shop around. Like this Central Park Plaza was a huge shopping experience. There's also, and if you can also drive to a Sheetz, and then if you need to go actual shopping, like for groceries and stuff, you can just go to the Wegmans. And then we get into the exit 140 for secondary route 630. So I've actually been on this exit sort of.
exit 140 for Stafford. I've actually spent some time here. My aunt used to live right around here. So this is, from here on, is kind of the first part of I-95 that I ever experienced, other than some very small parts in Florida. Not surprisingly, it is North 95 Washington, these random interchanges. And a few exits up, we get the exit for Quantico. So if you want to join the FBI, then this is the place for you. Don't tell them I sent you. And here's our first exit request for this episode. It is from Corte Manche 437. I hope I'm pronouncing that somewhere close to right. I'm sure it's not right. And this viewer wanted to see this exit of 160B. So we've got Virginia Highway 123, 160B.
So Virginia 123 was always on the news because, on the radio during like a traffic report. So that's how I would know about this exit. And for that pronunciation, it's Ak Ko Kwan, like how you literally read it.
For another place I'm sure I'm not going to be able to pronounce, along with Lake Ridge. We meet US 1, but more importantly, we're getting our first information about the Springfield interchange, 8 miles away. One of the largest interchanges probably in the world, I'd imagine. And we see 95 is going to be north for Baltimore and New York City. So New York on the sign in Virginia. Pretty interesting. Still a ways away from DC. Also, that is something like 5 states away, which vastly blows I-80's New York signage in Ohio out of the water. Although at this point we are closer to New York than you are in Youngstown. This New York sign was requested by ZimZ, so thank you very much for that. I appreciate it. Here we are meeting Virginia Highway 286, the Fairfax County Parkway, which also is a freeway itself. Corte Manche 437 also wanted to see the Springfield interchange, exit 170, so we're going to...
Actually, the farthest I've been on Interstate 95. I've only been up to the Springfield interchange because so we'd either take 395 north for Washington, or if we wanted to go, I don't know, somewhere like north of Washington, we'd always take 495 north for Tyson's Corner, which the exits would start counting backwards from like 57, 54, 53, etc. So that's the exit. I'd either take exit 178 or 170B. So this is the farthest north I've ever been on Interstate 95. So with that being said, I'm going to end the video here. So thank you all for watching. I hope you liked my reaction to Control City Freak and his videos. He's a wonderful guy. I think you should subscribe to him if you enjoy watching him talk about his personal experience with highways, or see other people experience with highways, or just like highways in general. Then you should definitely check him out and subscribe to him. Subscribe.
Thank you so much for watching this video. If you'd like to see more videos made by me, click on the either 2 card links that are shown on the screen. And please subscribe. It really helps out a lot. And remember, everyone's awesome.